training partner is keeping the structure super, super tight, and I can't really get inside their structure. Either create a wedge with my hand, so an inclined plane, or my fist, and to punch it into this space. If I can't, I can cup the outside of the hip, or even grab underneath the shin on the far side of their body. I'm looking to perform a spiral ride, creating this effect where I'm rotating her out of base, and from this point operate trying to get a seatbelt. Now, really the nice back take from this position, if I can get it, is I'm going to start with a seatbelt. So my right hand is a fist, my left hand is covering the fist. I'm going to look to hook her back leg. So I want this foot to hook her leg like this. It's going to be challenging, so what I can do is bring my shin inside her knee-elbow connection here, drop to my hip, and see how by bringing her shoulders forward, and I can use my knee against her glutes as well to get this hook. Now that I'm here, I slide my right knee underneath her as I rotate her hip, and I get my low hook. So I just keep this foot in base, and I hip escape as many times as I need to then bring this foot in, and now I'm up on the back, on the strong side. And I'm looking to lean and torque his back leg, but in this case, he's starting to sit his hip in this direction, like that. What I'd like to do is get my shin in between the side of his body and the ground. I jump over here, hooking my leg, pulling him to the other side, and ending up having barrel rolled, and now I'm on the strong side. Working on a sequence from top turtle today, and I'm looking to pull my training partner out of base. I have my elbow against the hip, and my opposite knee, so my left elbow, left knee, is against his knee. I'm able to perform what's similar to a spiral ride movement and pull him out of base in this direction, getting him to a chair sit position. However, when I go to do that, he's likely to resist and potentially drop his hip to the mat. So a necessary follow-up movement is I'm rolling over his back and maintaining a bridge so I have effective base here, and my top arm is going to be used as a way of creating a bit of a cross face, making it harder for him to turn into me. So if he tries to grab my legs, I should be able to break his posture enough that it gives me the time to reset to a north-south position. I break his posture as I crawl up into base. If I have the room, I'm going to take this basic open space right here to take the back, falling to the strong side, getting my other hook. If I do not have that space, we continued on with the drill where he moves to his left. I maintain my knee-elbow connection over here, so my right elbow stays closed. If my right elbow opens, I essentially will lose the back. So we come back, I keep the knee-elbow connection on this side. As he goes to his left, I jump over, and I'm right back to the beginning of the drill. If I'm able to pull him out of base into this chair sit position, I can also sit him up into this seated position to try to get my hook. Or if I was in this seated position, I could pull him down. If you know the chair sit sequence, you can work on taking the back from here. Top turtle, Sean's being a classic dick, and he's not letting me get any upper body control. I'm gonna turn rather than trying to control the upper body. I'm turning, and my chest is going approximately onto his lower back, and I'm grabbing his far leg. After I get my chest to his lower back and I grab his foot, I'm wedging my knee and my shin into this space here. So now I'm inside his structure. Option number one, I'm looking to pull him out of base. I'm probably gonna need this foot in base to do it. I drive off this foot and try to find his Achilles right here as I bring this hook inside, and I end up in what's usually known as the truck position. I'm trying to pull him out of base in this direction, but he's trying to drop his hip to the floor here to prevent me from doing that. So I go to pull, I can't quite pull, so I jump or roll over my shoulder, finding his foot as I roll, and inserting this hook. Reinforcing my foot, pin it to the mat, arm, under the head. So I move it out from that grapevine position into like a standard hook, and ideally I end up on my elbow on his back. Going over the classic sequence for getting the chair sit with a seatbelt. My sternum has to be behind his shoulder, all right? I'm not up here. I start with my chest low behind his back. I connect my hands, I make a fist with my killing hand, the arm beside the neck, here, and I close my elbows tight to me. I go from being on my knees up onto my toes, and I use that pressure to try to force him basically belly down, definitely preventing him from turning in to get his back to the mat. So I can base on my bottom elbow to stay up in base. I'm gonna transition to getting my right knee up to my right elbow, and as I shift my hip closer to the mat, I'm gonna bring my right elbow up onto my thigh and end up in this chair sit position. I'm looking to maintain my rotational control. We talk about that a lot when we do our back control modules, preventing the rotation of our training partner. Right now I'm doing that by having my direct control to his back and closing my elbows. He's unable to rotate towards me or away from me effectively. So I want to get this leg inside this space, but I can't disconnect my chest like I just did because I'm using this direct control. So I drive off the mat, or I can use my shin, my left shin, to drive off of his body and open him up like this. As I do that, I'm creating this space to bring my leg inside or bring my foot near his hip to bring it across his body. Keep myself low and tight, and I drive myself off the outside of my right knee to the other side and bringing my hook in. I want to bring him to the strong side, so I take out my other hook to bring him back in this direction, and I end up here on my elbow. Usually he's going to have his knee-elbow connection tight here, making it annoying for me to get this hook back in. So I connect my feet, okay, and I'm going to use a hip and back extension to open him up. That's going to create enough space for me to bring my hook back in, and I'm back on his back, up on my elbow, on the strong side.
I have my grip, I have my chest to back connection, I'm basing on my elbow. I'm changing the angle, and I need to get inside his knee-elbow connection. So I use my knee as a wedge here, and I use a hip extension to open up his hip as much as I can. Then I'm going to try to change the angle of my leg to insert my heel near his hip. I slide my knee underneath his head like a pillow, and I keep my shin tight along his back as I bring my elbow from the floor up onto my thigh. I then push off the mat with my left leg and the outside of my right knee to fall to the other side while maintaining my knee-elbow connection, keeping my torso forward. Bring my hooks in, right? I want to bring him back to the strong side. So I remove this hook and pull him back in this direction, reinserting this hook. If he starts to escape, he brings us back to the mat. I remove my hooks and I use this outside hook to turn him away, try and bring him belly down, which he'll fight against, making it easier for me to reset the back, right back to where I was, creating this continuous movement drill of resetting, turning him away, and using this chair sit to constantly reset the back.
Any control I want, seatbelt, our double motorcycle grip, our motorcycle grip. I want to keep my opponent on the strong side, the side where my killing hand is. The killing hand points the way out for my opponent. So he wants to bring himself to this side, generally speaking. I'm going to bring him to the strong side and end up on my elbow. This is where I want to be. If he tries to turn into me to escape or drive us back to the mat, from this side, I'm hooking the outside of his leg and removing my bottom leg, turning him to a belly down position. I slide my knee up to my elbow, take his back with our chair sit movement. If he escapes to the other side, brings us back to the mat here, and I'm a little bit late on just pulling him to my strong side, I take my hook out, I get to base. I'm maintaining my motorcycle grip here, and I get a grapevine on his near side leg. I try to belly him down. I try to turn him belly down. He does not want to get belly down, so he drives back into me. I use that momentum to pull him back to the strong side. The idea is, I've taken the back, I'm in a super dominant position. I want to get the choke, but not at the expense of losing the back. So once I get to the back, I'm using this movement sequence to continually control my opponent. As I transition between those positions, he's getting tired, he's willing to open up his arms and legs more and more to try to escape, and in those moments, then I look for the choke. We're going over a sequence from the back to get the rear naked choke. I'm falling to the weak side for this. I'm gonna bring my foot to his hip and switch my other leg across his body. I move away a little bit and sort of let him drop into this area by my hips. I'll scrape this hand off either like this, or I'll try to grab his fingers and peel his hand off. I'll take my other hand and start going for the rear naked choke. If he doesn't defend, obviously I get the choke. So he's gonna bring this hand up to defend. And as he does, I end up controlling both of his arms. I punch this arm down and use my heel right in the pit of his elbow, and I just drive my heel to the ground and capture that arm. Now I gotta kind of pull myself back underneath him, so I'm just gonna slowly wedge back underneath into this position here. My shoelaces are curling up against his back to keep my foot tight against the back of his body so he can't free that arm. We're gonna use a wedge of the forearm, and I basically just wedge slowly underneath his chin, and eventually I'm gonna get underneath there. So I open up my right knee just a little bit, and I just rock him away. Pull this arm free. Fist goes against the neck for a moment. This is now a frame, my arm against the mat, so if he tries to move this way, he won't be able to do it. And then in transition, I shoot my arm behind the head, and I can finish the choke. Building off the chair sit content we did, I have my chin over his shoulder, and my chest is low enough behind his back. I'm not up here because he'll be able to turn his back to the mat. I'm transitioning from the seatbelt to the arm triangle. If I'm in the right position with my chest behind his back for the seatbelt, as he turns in, it should be really easy for me to rotate and move into an arm triangle position. If I'm up too high and he turns in, I'm just gonna lose the position. As he moves his back to the mat, I rotate right into an arm triangle position. Real basics here. My far elbow is on the mat, and I'm looking to turn his shoulder up into his neck. So if I'm having a problem in this position, trying to open him up and get my leg into that space, okay, so depending on the dimensions of you and your opponent, it might be challenging to open someone up and get my leg like all the way into that space without giving him room to move, is to get back up to my knees and sit him up. So after I sit him up, if I can, I'm just gonna look to hand fight, to draw his hands and bring this leg right over. I end up with cross-body rotational control. I have a motorcycle grip and a hook on the opposite side. If he's still doing a good job with his knee-elbow connection, I'm gonna have to use a pretty powerful wedge. So I'm here, I get my knee into the crease of his hip, and then I try to align myself so that I'm using as much gravity as possible to bring my knee right to the mat. Change the angle to get my leg inside of his hips, and I change the angle again, and I end up on the back.